Alright guys, on the bench we have a Turner Super Sidekick microphone. You'll probably recognize this from a previous video. This belongs to a customer who sent this microphone in along with two other radios. And I just figured I'd do a quick video on replacing the capacitors. Nothing crazy, there's only three. They finally showed up from DigiKey, the company that I use for all my electronic components, semiconductors, capacitors, all that stuff. That's where I normally order all my stuff from. I try not to buy, when it comes to that stuff, I try not to use eBay or Amazon, when it comes to capacitors and semiconductors and stuff like that. So DigiKey is the place I go to. But I figured I'd do a video because these capacitors are kind of different. These are radial mounted. These are axial mounted capacitors. Unlike the radial mounted, which has the two leads on the same side. These have a lead on opposite ends of the capacitor. So just some notable differences that I can show you guys. Nothing too crazy, but a little bit different than your typical radial mounted capacitors. So I actually got this cord cleaned. There was some weird, like sticky residue. I don't know if it was like undried paint or I don't know what it was. But anyway, I got the cord nice and clean. You can see it's nice and shiny. It almost looks brand new. In the other video, I had wired this up for a Cobra 4-pin because there's a couple of different 4-pin variations that you can wire this to. So this is it's wired for a Cobra. And then, once we're done, we'll test this on the microphone test center and see how it's doing. But, so I couldn't find... I usually use Nichicon. That's my company of preference. For some reason, I couldn't find these values in the Nichicon brand. So I had to go with IC, which is another top tier company. So IC is, let me get this in the focus here. IC is Illinois Capacitor. They're another like A grade capacitor, top tier capacitor. So there's nothing wrong with using these. So both the blue and the black here, they're IC. So this is pretty simple. There's only three capacitors on this mic. So you have two 22 microfarad 16 volts, the two silver ones, and then the one in the back there, that is a 47 microfarad 25 volts. So that's what I have here for that one, 47 microfarad 25 volts. And we're going to be upgrading the 22 microfarad to 25 volts. To be honest, 25 volts is the only voltage. It's the lowest voltage I could find. But that's fine. I mean, it'll fit in there fine, and there's nothing wrong with, in this case, increasing the voltage. So that's what we're going to do. It's a relatively easy board to work on. So now, the notable differences between radial and axial mounted capacitors. So, one thing you have to notice is the labeling. So you have some capacitors that are going to be bipolar, so it doesn't matter which way, or non-polar, whatever you want to call them. So it's not going to matter which way you mount these. It's not the case with this specific microphone. So here you're going to notice on this capacitor, you'll notice that the negative is, where's this, here I am. You'll notice that the negative, there's an arrow pointing to the negative side. So this is the negative lead right here. And the same with the other ones. You'll see that the arrow is pointing to the negative side. But on these, you'll notice that it's pointing. This one here is labeled positive, the plus side. That's the plus side. So they didn't mark the negative side. They labeled the plus side. So something to take caution with. And the same thing with the blue capacitor. Let me get this flipped over. You're going to notice that the blue capacitor is marked plus. So that's something to keep in mind. You definitely don't want to get these backwards. So yeah, that's just the only difference. Other than that, they solder on the same way. In fact, these are interchangeable with, the radial mounted capacitors. If they fit in there, you can use those. But in the case of this, this microphone here, there's very little clearance between the top of the capacitor and the top of the microphone. So in this case, I had to use axial mounted capacitors, which is not an issue. So that's about it. So what I'll do is let me get my desoldering gun ready. So you can see I kind of marked already the plus side on the capacitors, so that way I know which way it is. Again, remember, these point to the negative. The negative is labeled on these. The positive is labeled on these. So we're going to mount these the other way. So technically, if we were to take this blue one, it would be not this way, the other way. So this is the way it would have to go. Mount it just like that. All right. Nothing new to, the seasoned tech, but if you're going to be attempting this at home, something to take note. All right, so another tip on some of these capacitors. So what I like to do is, in the case of this, so you can see where the capacitor is on the other side, they bent the lead over. Let me use this to point. So they stuck the lead through and bent it. And that could be kind of a pain sometimes to desolder, especially when you have this type of board. So what I do is, because it's easy enough, I just cut the leads off. I'll cut the other side off. And then what I'll do is I'll just take a pair of tweezers and a soldering iron and just pull the lead out from the foil side. I think that's the easiest way of doing these, instead of trying to suck up all the solder and then bend over the lead, and then pull it out that way. It's just easier to cut them and then just pull the lead off from the foil side, from this side out. Yeah, that's the way to do these. Well, that's how I do these. Just easier that way. With this particular type of board, it's easier doing it that way. All right, let me continue on here. All right, so here's one capacitor done. So you can see how it was bent over. So yeah, I find it easier taking it out that way. And we just did the same thing. We took the leads, bent them over. When I say we, I mean me. But yeah, so again, taking note of polarity. It's something that, just double, triple check, quadruple check yourself, especially if this is your first time doing it, because you definitely don't want to mess up, or blow anything up. Yeah, so that's pretty easy, right? Yeah, not bad. I'm going to flip this over and do the other two, and that's basically it. I'll get those two done, same fashion I did this blue one. All right, stand by, guys. All right, so we got all three done. It's pretty easy. So now, going back to the caps, remember. So this was positive. This was positive, which means this is pointing to the negative, and then this is pointing to the negative. So we do have our polarities correct. And then the same with the blue one in the back. So this was the positive side, which means that that side is the negative, and that's exactly where it's pointing to, the negative side. So polarity is correct on all three of these capacitors. So now what I can do is I can go ahead and put this board back in, put a battery in it, and we're going to do a test and make sure that, you know, it's wired for a Cobra 4 pin, and we're going to actually, you know, see if we actually get any modulation out of this microphone. And then I'll probably go ahead and clean up the rust, probably throw some polish on that, on the top there, on that chrome piece, and clean up the rest of the microphone. And that's about it. Yeah, this is a pretty easy job. I like these jobs, you know, where you can actually, you know, I guess get some progress done, you know, without worrying about anything else. Stand by. All right, I got you guys on a tripod so that way I can have two hands clear to do what I need to do here. So like I had said in a previous microphone video, you want to make sure that the switch is to electronic. Unless you actually have a radio that has a transmit relay, then you want to put that switch down to relay. This says relay. Nice fresh 9-volt battery. And that's it. We're good to go. So let me plug this in into the Cobra 4-pin tester. All right. And let me, we might get some feedback here. So let me start this off, this powered mic down low on the lowest setting. And we're going to turn this on. I'll put this midway. And we shouldn't get any audio out of this at first with this setting low. But let's check to see, make sure. Okay, so we are receiving. And now it's transmitting. That's a good sign. I mean, we already knew that this was wired correctly before, but this just confirms it. This is, I like this test center versus the other older ones, because this one you can actually do noise toys, you know, stuff like echo boards and Roger beep, stuff like that. You can test those out as well. But anyway, yeah, let's try to keep this as far away as we can here, and try to keep the feedback to a minimum. So, all right, again, so gain's all the way down. We shouldn't hear anything. Audio, test, 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 test. All right, let me turn this up. Audio. All right, getting a little bit. Audio, test, test, test. Audio, test, test, test. Okay, it's down here a little bit more. We're about midway. Audio, test, 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 test. Let's turn this up about 3/4. Yeah. Let me turn this down. Audio, test, 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 test. Audio, test, test. Yeah, getting a little feedback. All right, let's max this out. Audio, test, 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 test. Yeah, a little feedback there, but it is working. All right, so we can confirm that our repairs have been done proper, and we have a good working Turner Super Sidekick. So it's ready to be put into service. So if we did want to adjust the gain, you can actually do it through this hole here. But I think I think everything is in working order here. Well, that's it, guys. I enjoyed making this video. I like making quick videos like this. You know, it nice and easy. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you your viewers, subscribing, liking, commenting. It goes a long way. And yeah, that's about it, guys.